Karen called 911 while I moved my deployed son's bags, so I banned her HOA from the lake. The sirens wailed through the quiet lakeside neighborhood, cutting through the golden dusk like a knife. I stood frozen, my hands gripping the worn straps of my son Tyler's military duffel bags, his name stitched in faded thread. He was halfway across the world, deployed for the third time, and I'd come to his small rental house to move his belongings before the lease ended. But there was Karen, striding across her pristine lawn, her designer heels clicking, phone pressed to her ear, voice dripping with venom. "Yes, 911. There's a trespasser stealing property," she barked, her eyes locked on me, glinting with triumph. The bags at my feet, Tyler's life, his boots, his folded flag were now her ammunition. She'd turned my act of love into a crime scene. Karen was the queen of Lakeview Estates, or so she thought. As HOA president, she ruled with an iron fist, her manicured nails signing fines for unmowed grass or unapproved mailboxes. Her mansion, all glass and sharp angles, loomed over the lake like a throne. I'd lived here for years, a retired nurse who kept to myself, but Karen had always seen me as beneath her, a nobody who didn't belong in her perfect enclave. When Tyler rented his place, she'd sneered at his beat-up truck, his military stickers, muttering about riffraff. Now, with him gone, she saw her chance to strike. I'd barely started loading his bags into my car when she stormed out, accusing me of theft. "You can't just take his stuff," she'd shrieked, ignoring my explanation. Her call to 911 wasn't about justice, it was about power. The truth unraveled fast. I stood my ground as the police arrived, their lights flashing across the cul-de-sac. Karen's accusations fell apart when I showed them Tyler's lease, his deployment orders, and my ID. The officer, a young man with a crew cut, looked embarrassed. "Ma'am, she's his mother. She's got every right," he told Karen, whose face twisted like she'd swallowed a lemon. Neighbors began to gather, whispering. I saw Mrs. Lopez, who'd lost her husband in Vietnam, shaking her head. "Karen's gone too far," she muttered. But Karen wasn't done. She doubled down, claiming I'd disturbed the peace by dragging Tyler's bags across the lawn, leaving unsightly marks. She demanded I be fined, banned, anything to save face. The officer sighed, told her to file a complaint with the HOA, and left. Karen's smug smile returned. She thought she'd won. But then came the twist. Mrs. Lopez stepped forward, her frail hands clutching a yellowed envelope. "I've had enough," she said, her voice steady despite her age. She revealed she'd been Tyler's landlord and, more importantly, she owned the lake. Not the HOA, not Karen, but her family for generations. The HOA's access to the lake, the heart of the neighborhood's appeal, was a privilege she'd granted decades ago. Karen's face paled as Mrs. Lopez spoke. "You've bullied everyone here," she said. "You called the police on a soldier's mother for moving his things? You're done." The crowd murmured, some nodding, others wide-eyed. Mrs. Lopez had been quiet for years, letting Karen's reign go unchecked. No one expected her to emerge as the neighborhood's avenger. The confrontation erupted at the next HOA meeting, held in the community center overlooking the lake. Karen sat at the head of the table, her usual throne, but the air was electric with defiance. I'd rallied the neighbors, sharing Tyler's story, his service, his sacrifice, and Karen's cruelty. One by one, they spoke. Mr. Patel, fined for his daughter's chalk drawings, called Karen a tyrant. The Wilsons, whose dog had been reported for barking, shared how she'd threatened to have it seized. Even Karen's ally, Susan, hesitated, her loyalty cracking. Karen tried to shut it down, banging her gavel, her voice shrill. "This is my HOA, you can't challenge me." But Mrs. Lopez stood, her envelope now a stack of legal documents. "The lake access ends tonight," she declared, "unless Karen steps down." The room exploded in cheers, gasps, and Karen's furious protests. Karen's downfall was swift and brutal. She refused to resign, so Mrs. Lopez followed through. The next morning, signs went up. Lake access revoked for Lakeview HOA, Karen's mansion, once the jewel of the neighborhood, now overlooked a privilege she'd lost. Neighbors stopped attending her meetings. Her fines went unpaid. Her power crumbled as the community reclaimed its voice. I watched her one evening, standing on her balcony, staring at the lake she could no longer control. Her designer dress looked out of place, her haughty expression replaced by something hollow. She'd vandalized Tyler's belongings, scattering his boots and flag in a fit of spite, thinking she could crush me. Instead, she'd united the neighborhood against her. The lake became a symbol of renewal. Mrs. Lopez opened it to the community, free of HOA rules. Kids swam, families picnicked, and I brought Tyler's flag to a gathering where we honored his service. Karen was nowhere to be seen. Her reign was over, replaced by a sense of unity we hadn't felt in years. I thought of Tyler, out there in the desert, unaware of the battle fought in his name. When he called that night, I told him, "Your bags are safe, and the neighborhood's a little better now." He laughed, proud, and I felt a weight lift. This story isn't just about Karen's foul, it's about standing up, speaking out, and fighting for what's right. What do you think? Was Mrs. Lopez's decision to revoke lake access fair? Should the community have given Karen a chance to change? Share your thoughts. Let's talk about justice, power, and second chances.